celebrity movies are a real grey area, aren't they? No one really takes them seriously, or at least doesn't feel like it. I don't media based on celebrities is a weird idea in general, because it just seems like promotion of this one person, right? And this shouldn't be that much of a surprise. Now, let's just explain what I am talking about. So, who is Harry Hill? Now, okay, so everyone from Britain where I live has probably said, yeah, I know who he is. That's a stupid question. But I don't know how popular he is overseas. I don't know if his reach gets that high. So I'm just going to explain to the people in the audience not aware. Harry Hill is a very popular British comedian, host of hit shows like Harry Hill's TV Burp, which ran from 2001 to 2012, ended a year before this movie, and You've Been Framed, which ran for over 20 years. He narrated that show. Harry Hill's TV Burp was a show which which basically ragged on a lot of British TV, and made fun of British TV, talking about how stupid everything really is. You've Been Framed was really just an assortment of clips where something went wrong. Both shows were big hits, and with good reason. Both shows were genuinely hilarious, at least to me. Humor is subjective. So, if you don't find these things funny, then that's fine. So, as such a popular comedian, it only makes sense to make a movie about him, right? Wait, what? Okay, so, I assume this might have been Harry's idea, because this movie was made as a Channel 4 idea, so maybe this was going to be a TV movie. It's a fully fictionalized movie. A lot of famous comedians in Britain here, at least, they do become actors later, or something. So maybe it wouldn't be out of the question for him to make a cameo in a movie, but making a whole movie about him, a guy who's just known for being a comedy show host, just sounds a little strange to me. I honestly think that if they made a Harry Hill movie, then a James Acaster movie shouldn't be out of the question. Make it happen, people! Make it happen! Now, okay, so why did they do this? I don't know. I think, honestly, it might have been Harry's idea, as I said. So, as a kid, I loved this guy. I loved Harry Hill. I don't know much about him nowadays, but I did love this guy as a kid and watched both Harry Hill's TV Burp and You've Been Framed quite a bit. Actually, a friend of mine who I no longer associate with loved him even more and watched everything with him, and now he just makes YouTube videos basically copying everything that says in the show because he's the most unoriginal person ever. But with that aside, this is an important movie. This is a movie to talk about. An interesting movie, to me at least. Although, this is probably the least remembered least well-known movie in general. It's definitely, especially in this series so far. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that no one is aware of this movie, and it's one of the biggest examples of a movie I remember but no one else does. I think we're getting more and more obscure, because while this one is the most obscure so far, I think we've got an even more obscure one coming up. Although, that's debatable. I don't know, honestly. I don't know. These videos are mostly just to revisit my nostalgia. When I finish revisiting my nostalgia, maybe I might revisit yours. When I get enough followers to get requests for this, but yeah, that's all it is for now. So this was one of my favourite movies as a kid, but it's worth noting that unlike the Lorax, which these two movies were kind of equal parts of my childhood, which I did a video on the Lorax and why and how important it was that I didn't hate it as much as everyone else did, at least. So I'm kind of hoping for the same here, even though there's not really that opinion on it here. While it is a reviled, hated movie, not many people are talking about it, so while it's the general opinion, it's only the general opinion of the 30 people that have seen it. How many critics have reviewed it on Rotten Tomatoes? 6 critics! 6! Okay, so you know for sure that this isn't great. You'd expect me to talk about the production now, and usually we have really interesting talks about how bad the production was, and like interesting tidbits. But honestly, the production reports about this movie quite small, to be honest. There's not much info about it on Wikipedia. It just says the movie. Which is where I get my information. Don't bully themselves. Which is, don't be stupid. It said that he had a 2 million movie deal. He was signed on with a 2 million movie deal to do with Channel 4 before the end of Harry Hill's TV burp. And it says, it's worth noting the filming stuff was, most of it was filmed in different sites. It's worth noting this. Now, the movie itself is set in a range of places in Blackpool and London, with the scenes from those places taking place actually being filmed in those places, which is really cool. But with other scenes are filmed in actual stuff. They don't use sets. The vast majority of things here are filmed on location, which is cool. But everything is just, but I don't know, the locations will be really cathartic, as I honestly just been to Blackpool last August. Now, we've got a lot more to talk about with this movie, because I do think it's going to be an interesting experience, whether I end up loving it or hating it. So, actually, let's get into this. Let's watch the Harry Hill movie and see what I think of it. So, yeah, this movie is good. if you like movies in which the only thing that matters is the comedy, and they just discard everything else about what makes a movie. Yeah, so this movie is probably one of the dumbest movies I've ever seen, but I think that might be the point. But before I talk about that, let's talk about actually what I mean. Okay, so what is the main plot of this movie? Okay, so it does have a plot, I'm not denying that. The plot is Harry Hill and his nan live alone by themselves. After Nan abandoned Harry's twin brother and left him to be raised by dogs. And then he wants revenge for everything that happened. And he also loves hamsters. So he plans to steal the thing Harry loves the most, his hamster. He tricks him that the hamster is about to die, and like Harry and Nan are trying to give the hamster his a fun last week of life, while at the same time Otto tries his best. Otto sends his henchmen. Otto's henchmen try to steal him at every opportunity they get. What does this movie sound like? Well, it sounds like it's got a pretty simple premise, but honestly, okay, yeah, it's quite simple. It feels like a bit of a road trip movie, actually, but every character's an idiot, so it doesn't really do this. When I talked about them tricking that they were sick, it's a real event for its very stupid reason, but it's just because Harry and Nan are stupid because of how little they... Because they never recognize the two henchmen, although it being very obvious what's happening. They never hide Abu, they never keep him safe. Now, their henchmen are stupid because of because of their plans, or because their plans are so obviously stupid they fail, obviously, but because make no sense, and they just like build everything as like coincidences, and like it feels like the whole movie is based on like coincidences. Because not to mention, this story is loaded with filler. The whole Blackpool story is incredibly pointless. And just meant to be there for celebrity cameos. I don't know. Yeah, the part which isn't is the beach, when we go to the beach and they'll shell people. I guess that's the purpose. But that could have been done anywhere, like at any beach, and the movie would have been fine. The Blackpool situation isn't even that funny. Also, the scene at the boxing den and the scene at the petrol station are just there for quick comedic gags. I mean, they're both funny scenes, I guess, which maybe is all that really matters. We just waste time, and the movie becomes very repetitive. so repetitive. Harry and Nan are stupid and accidentally fall into traps. Vet and Kisko, those are their names. Like, it's never actually shown what Vet's name is. They try and catch Abu while they're not looking, or in a very sneaky way, or just a very obvious way. And rinse and repeat like 6 times until the climax, where they actually do it and they find it. Did I mention this movie was a musical? No? Okay, so it's weird that the two movies that the two biggest movies to my channel that I've reviewed on this channel are both musicals. But really, you wouldn't expect a movie like this to be a musical. It seems like they just wanted to fill time, as the songs aren't particularly that comedic. Aside from the song with the petrol station, I guess that's a little comedic, and the song for Magic Numbers sing, that's comedic. But the Blackpool song, which is one of the best songs in the movie, I guess that's comedic. That's not comedic at all. The Under the Sea song, I guess, is comedic, but it's also pretty stupid. And then we have the finale song, which it just pretends it was a jukebox musical the whole time, because it's You've Got the Love, which is a great song, but it has no business being in the movie, and they don't really do anything special with it. Dawn, the villain song definitely isn't comedic, or might be. I can't tell this. The ending song, My Heart, that one, it is stupid, makes no sense. The rain falls in my heart. That's it. That song is okay, I guess, but like the second verse really gets it down, because like everyone starts singing for no reason of why their whole life sucks, even though why it's just stupid and like also. So let's talk about the characters now. Harry is just a person who like, how to say it, he's a really bland protagonist, to be honest. He doesn't really have any distinguishable character traits. Well, that's because he's an actual person, he's not an actual character. So I'm not gonna harp on him too much, to be honest. If he was a random person, then I'd do it, but honestly, it's just Harry Hill being Harry Hill. And honestly, that's quite fun most of the time. Abu is actually quite fun in this movie as well. I love how snarky he is to Harry. I don't always like him, because like it seems like he hates Harry for most of the movie, but he doesn't do this. Then there's Nan, who we'll talk about later. Trust me, we'll get to her. There's Michelle. Oh, I haven't even talked about that yet. The romantic subplot. This movie has a romantic subplot, and it's like just as bad as Sid's one from that last Ice Age video. Yeah, I know. I didn't think that it could get any worse than that. But okay, I'm not actually sure which one's worse. This or that. This or the Sid one. But they both end after they both start after just one conversation. And like they're instantly in love. Like seriously. Harry breaks up with her when like this is done. And like it's just really dumb. I also don't like with Abu with the Shell Kid and all that. I don't know. Stupid side romance. There are now the henchmen. The henchmen are idiots who are kind of funny, I guess. But these two, oh my, but they're pretty annoying as well. They're like funny sometimes, annoying other times. And their turn to the good side honestly came out of nowhere. I mean, Otto was treating them terribly for their entire movie, sure. But there's no full evidence that they resented their job. Hell, they were super happy to have Abu in at the end of the movie, and then they sing about how much he's good, and then they sing about how much they want to get out of the henchman game. Things do not fit. I don't like these characters. Oh, and then we have the villain, Otto, who is a pure evil villain. He's not actually in the movie that much. It's mostly his henchmen doing the deal. And when he does appear, like Harry, it's just Matt Lucas being Matt Lucas. And yes, Matt Lucas is hilarious. And he's great. But you really don't get any sense. He's really not threatening because it's Matt Lucas. How can Matt Lucas be threatening? Like maybe I'm just too used to him playing the adorable. Well, I don't see how he can be threatening. He's so endearing, and plus, I feel sorry for this guy. I do. Because honestly, yes, get revenge! Your grandmother sent you to the dogs. Fucking hell, man. Fucking hell. Yep. But after all that, after all the harshness of this movie, I'm left asking myself, does everything I just said really matter? Well, some of it does. But most of it, you can make a very good argument for why none of this really matters at all. And you just think, what do you mean? The story always matters. Well, now, what do I mean by this? Well, I think a lot of the things I just mentioned, not everything, I'd like to make this clear, not everything. We'll get to some here, but a lot of things which are, most people would say, are unfair criticism, and honestly I kind of agree. Stuff like the plot not making any sense, the characters all being idiots, and them having filler scenes just for comedy. They're obviously staples of comedy, and this movie is purely a comedy. It doesn't really offer anything else, which is fine. Honestly, you're expecting me to say that it's kind of uncreative, but honestly, it's fine. The movie is purely one thing. It's fine, especially comedy. Comedy is one of the most flexible genres. It doesn't really have to be mixed with anything to be stuffed. What matters in a comedy is whether it's funny. And this movie certainly succeeds at being funny. The con's funny. Something I consistently find funny is the fourth wall breaks. Whenever, especially when Harry just goes, there's a message to learn in all of this! I'm like, that is hilarious. You can't deny that is hilarious. But everything else, I don't know. I honestly, but I have a lot of jokes. I have a lot of jokes in this. So everything I just said, does it matter? Well, it matters to me personally. But honestly, for this movie, it's not really general criticism. It doesn't really need to be there. I'm enforcing things which shouldn't be there. So, boring, I know, but there are some genuine problems with this movie. While a lot of the problems which I listed are probably intentional, there are stuff that, for the most part, aren't. The romantic subplot being not thought out is definitely played for comedy and is probably the point. Again, the main one of the main problems, as I said, is that what is the point of it being a musical? Not all the songs are funny, and while they do parody like general stories, they don't really parody musicals in this. It's not like they just like randomly say like, "Oh, why are you singing?" like a musical parody would do. It's just feels like a regular musical at times. It doesn't really feel like anything special in that regard. Now, what else is there? Oh yeah, there's Harry and... Okay. So, yeah. But another thing I don't like is Nan. As you know, I've already said we'll get to her. Well, there's some jokes which I consider not okay. I personally think dark humor is okay, as long as you are acknowledging that it's dark, not it itself. So, the beginning story, Nan is awful. Absolutely awful, and she should be in prison for child neglect of both her fucking sons. She's a terrible parent to Harry, doesn't let him do what he wants, doesn't let him move out when he's like in his 40s or 50s, very controlling, and she abandoned his twin brother, left him to be raised by Alsatians just because she couldn't tell the two apart. And also, like, the parents of them went to Butlins and never came back because they loved Butlins so much. I guess they loved a holiday destination more than their own children. And all of this is played off as jokes. I don't like that. I don't like when stuff like child abuse is played off as jokes, unless it's like making fun of how bad child abuse is, but this obviously isn't supposed to fake that. Obviously, and this honestly makes me feel sorry for Otto, because, yeah, get revenge on Nan. I was actually hoping Nan would be a twist villain. The villain all along that sent Otto on purpose because she genuinely favours him. And honestly, there was a twist at the end which made her even worse. Like, the original reason she gave while raising was because due to her age she couldn't raise the two of them, which is a stupid reason, but not as bad as the actual reason revealed at the end, that Nan just couldn't tell the two apart. What the hell are you talking about then? This is never addressed, it's just played off as one joke, and like, never! But again, Harry's not angry that Nan lied to him. Not in the slightest. Nan and Michelle's rivalry also gets no stuff, and there's also no transition to how to Nan actually liking Michelle, which might be intentional, I don't know, but I can see it being either, to be honest. Well, is this movie actually good or bad? Well, for the first time, I can't actually tell. I think this movie works as a comedy, which is what it was trying to be. Which is different from a movie like failing to do things. Like, for example, the Ice Age movies seem to be having a good story. So, like, 5 and 6, it seems like they're at least acting like the story's important. Although they are comedies, they also fail at comedies due to how annoying the characters are rather than funny. So, yeah. I don't think the Harry Hill movie is ever boring. I think it's well played. Makes sense. I just don't really think it's my thing. I like when a story makes sense and when the characters are likable. I don't like idiot plots. It's kind of like a personal gripe, I guess. It's why I don't want spoof movies or anything like that. They're just not for me, to be honest. That it's a little disappointing, and I wasn't really expecting to have this view on it, but that is what I think. Yeah. So, yeah. Ariel movie, not awful, but I can kind of do better. I definitely think it's my least favourite out of the movies that I've done on Why Does No One Remember so far. Okay. So as usual, let's talk about the reception now. I already kind of touched on this before, but I want to get onto it because, first of all, the box office. It did terrible. It opened at number 7 and didn't get much better than that. It didn't make much better off a budget. Its budget was kind of small, and at 2 million, it only made 4 million. Which, I guess it made double its budget, but it's not like that was a big success or anything. Some people said that it didn't justify getting made by theatres, and I don't disagree. Exactly. I think this movie, I think this movie doesn't really work as a cinematic movie. It will be better as a TV movie on Channel 4. As I'm not sure it really works at a cinema. It's very Harry Hill. It speaks up to the title. If you don't like Harry Hill, you won't like this movie. That is for certain. Okay? Other people just say it's not funny, which humor is subjective. I get that. I think it's funny. It's just not for me. It's not just not for me. So yeah, as expected, the movie wasn't a big success. Definitely the least successful of the movies I've done so far. I guess we're getting less and less successful. But then again, yesterday was quite successful, so I don't even know what I'm talking about. But Damn Bully was the least successful, and this definitely takes its title. Yup. So, let's answer the question. Why does no one remember the Harry Hill movie? Well, this is the most obvious one. It wasn't successful. There was virtually no hype for it. And it wasn't big. It didn't stick out in anyone's minds. I personally think it's an interesting movie to talk about, but not as much to really sustain any popularity. It just isn't a spectacular movie, and that's basically it. Wow. So, it's quite straightforward, actually. But I liked making this video nonetheless. I still liked rewatching the movie, even if I didn't like it that much. So yeah. This is good. Thank you for all your support on the Ice Age video. That video was really important to me, and I am surprised it's doing this well, especially as it didn't open that well, but now it's got almost 200 views. I couldn't thank you guys enough. But yeah, so if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and comment below on what you think. But if you didn't like this video, leave a dislike, and maybe even a hate comment, because we always love to keep the algorithm happy. Also, follow me on social media in the links below. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next time.